Hey guys, Adam here from Lawnhub and welcome back. Today, got the lab coat on. You know what that means, it's serious. Lawnhub Labs, stick around. Okay, so this morning, Dylan got here. It was way too cold to go outside. It was raining, it was windy, so I thought, let's do an identifying weed video. Now, not the weed that the northern suburbs are thinking of, Dylan. All right, so when Dylan got here today, we were gonna film outside, but it's way too cold, it's windy, it's wet, it's cold, so not gonna do that. So I've braved a bit of the weather out there and I've gone out and I've grabbed some of the most common weeds that you'll find in your lawn, your garden, and basically how we're gonna treat those. So I suppose to my right, your left, I've got a catalogue of weeds, common weeds. There are a few weeds out there, I'm not too sure where they've come from, but that's okay. So we'll start with some broadleaf weeds, some very common broadleaf weeds that you and a lot of others are going to get in their lawn. So starting with this one in front of me, it is known as prickly lettuce. Unsure of exactly what it's known for in other places, but here in South Australia, it is known as prickly lettuce. It's just a common broadleaf weed, comes up in turf, comes up in open areas, like obviously next to us, we've got a construction site. There is this broadleaf weed everywhere. It's identifiable by its name, prickly lettuce. So it's actually got some prickly thorns on the stem there. And it also appears to have like a prickly leaf, but it's not really prickly, it's just the way that it grows. And to control that, you're just going to use a common broadleaf herbicide. That'll knock it out pretty easily. It's not very difficult to control. Of course, you can always hand pull these like I have if you don't have many and you don't want to get the sprayer out. So prickly lettuce. All right, the next one, thistle. Now, thistle is common around Australia. This is quite a juvenile plant, but you can identify it as thistle because of the way that it grows from the stem and then outwards. Again, very common broadleaf weed here, and again can be controlled with a broadleaf herbicide. Not very difficult to control, to be honest, but just comes up in the cooler weather. Of course, you can always pull these by hands if you don't have a lot. But that's thistle. All right, a super common weed, this one. This is very juvenile, but this is white clover. When white clover matures a little bit, it will start to get white rings around the rim of the leaf, and it will also shoot up a white little flower. It's very easy to control. NSFW does control white clover, as it does many other broadleaf weeds. Clover can spread quite rapidly. Like I said, these are quite juvenile. We do have a lot of these juvenile plants actually in the garden at the moment. So they're just popping up individually, but they are coming together. So it looks like it's covering a lot further than it actually is. That's what clover does, and it also has that spreading capability. But yeah, you can either pull these by hand, like I said. Otherwise, NSFW will smoke the white clover. All right, now into some more difficult weeds. This one here, super common around Australia. It is ryegrass. Now, ryegrass is a pest weed. It can be used as a lawn as well. This isn't perennial rye that you'll get from a seed. For example, like the ryegrass that we've oversowed the front here with. Ryegrass can be very, very difficult to control. Can also release things like endophytes into the soil, which actually inhibit other grass growing around it. So it can be very difficult and very invasive. A key indicator of identifying are these pink and purple base at the bottom here. That's a clear indicator that you've got some ryegrass. Like I said, ryegrass can be very difficult to control, but something like Duke is going to control ryegrass. It will smoke it. Something that is a little bit more mature may take a second application, but ryegrass, a common winter weed, especially in this part of Australia. See you later. Now, a nemesis of mine and a nemesis of a lot of people here in South Australia. I'm not sure what it's known for around the rest of Australia, but this is Soursob. Clear indicator of Soursob over clover is on the leaf here. You do have those black markings. That is a massive indicator. Very, very commonly gets mistaken for clover in its infant state, but those black markings on the leaf blade are going to suggest to you that it is Soursob. And of course, the flower, the yellow flower. Now, in turf, there is nothing registered to control Soursobs, unfortunately. Can be very, very difficult to control. I know in the crop scene, it is a pest as well. There are crop registered products, but of course they're not registered for the use on turf, so I cannot recommend that. A way you can control these is by painting them with glypho once they have appeared, preferably before they start to flower. Once they start to flower, that's when the activity happens below the surface. They do grow from a bulb. They are very, very difficult to control. And as you can see here, I actually have pulled the plant out, but I have missed the bulb. So the bulb means that it's still in the ground, and it's actually going to continue to spread and grow and propagate and just do all that not fun stuff that Soursob does beneath the surface. You can try pre-emergent control in autumn to try and prevent these from popping up, but just keep in mind that Soursobs in most cases do germinate well below the barrier, so the seed has already done what it needs to do to be able to push through that barrier. And one way to keep them at bay is to continuously mow them. We do manage to do that quite successfully out the front here at Lawnhub, but they still do pop up. They're just not flowering at the moment. They are just at the leaf stage. However, this one was pulled from the garden. Yeah, Soursob, very much so a nemesis for a lot of us. No more so of a nemesis in the world than wintergrass or Poa annua. Now this one is quite juvenile, and the clear indicator of wintergrass is the seed head here, and also, not in this one in particular, but it does also get a lime green colour that does stand out against other lawn varieties. Now, wintergrass, I feel like we've spoken about wintergrass for a lot over the past few years, but wintergrass has built resistance to a lot of chemical choices around the world, meaning that it is becoming harder and harder to control. This is because when wintergrass is sprayed with a chemical, it'll drop all of its seeds. So this could drop thousands and thousands of seeds, sometimes up to millions of seeds, depending on the size of the plant per season. And what happens is it essentially genetically mutates so that it then will come up the next season, and those seeds that have come up have mutated against or built resistance against chemical choices used in the past. So then you'll use a different chemical, and then it will eventually build resistance to that. That is what has been happening over the last 25 to 30 years of POA control across the globe, and in some countries is actually now considered that it's just you have to deal with it. So for example, like putting greens on golf course, they just deal with their POA, they'll regulate it, they'll try and suppress the seed head, and in some cases they're actually greens that are just purely POA, so just full POA greens. But back to the home lawn, sometimes can be very easy to control and sometimes can be very difficult. If you have a lawn variety like Cooch, so Tiftaf, Santa Ana, Tahoma 31, Iron Cutter, all those types of Cooch varieties, something like Poa Check is going to be a great option. Something like Nominee, that is also a great option. Just make sure you read the label of those. They do have different application timings and rates, so make sure you do read them in full before using, and then make sure you are on top of your follow-up applications for those that need it. If you have Buffalo as well, Poa Check is going to be a great option as well. Another option for Cooch is David Gray's Wintergrass Killer. It's got propyzamide in it, or propyzamide, however you wish to say it. That works via the soil, so you have to water that in, and it's taken up via the root system. Does have residual effect in the soil as well, so just be mindful of that if you are planning to do any overseeding or anything like that. If you have, unfortunately, if you've got Kaiku, controlling wintergrass is very, very difficult because in most cases the chemical option usually required to control wintergrass will also harm and damage the Kaiku. So I'd strongly suggest a really good pre-emergent program and or using something like Duke to help suppress the seed head so you can slowly deplete that seed bank in time, hopefully. Cool season grasses, there are options available. Nominee is good for ryegrass and some fescue types. And of course, if you've got bent grass, Poa Check is also a great option. Just be mindful of wintergrass. You can pull it out. It does have a quite shallow root system. Whilst this is quite a juvenile plant, it does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Does have 15 seed heads on here, like not just individual seeds, but seed heads where they've popped up. So if you are pulling these by hand, make sure you try and grab all the seeds as well, because that is going to be the killer next season. But yes, that's wintergrass, a nemesis of many around Australia. Now we're going to have wintergrass growing in the studio. Now this one is known as mallow. So this is a common mallow. I pulled this one out from the construction site, as we don't have any in the lawn at the moment. Usually in the lawn they are about, I'm going to say about 2/3 smaller than this. So they do come, quite little. So something like that is typically what you'd get in the lawn compared to something like this. This is quite mature. It is quite thick. I did actually have to pull it and snap it off. So mallow, very intrusive, very invasive, and in the right conditions can grow quite tall as well. But in the lawn, if we're looking after it, we're mowing it regularly, you can help keep this at bay. Pulling it by hand is an option. Whilst it is tough, it does have really deep, strong roots. But again, a common broadleaf herbicide is going to knock it about. Might take a few applications depending on the maturity of the plant, but mallow, quite easily distinguishable due to the way it grows, and it's quite sporadic as well. So it's not going to be like in most cases, well, in the case out in the paddock here, it wasn't grown all in together like a clover plant. It was, popping up here, popping up here, popping up here, and then you trace back to the actual source, which is where I pulled this from, the actual source of the plant. So that is mallow. All right, and the last one that I managed to pull from the garden, actually no, this one came from the lawn. Burr Medic. Now Burr Medic has a lot of easily distinguishable characteristics. It has a little yellow flower, and it also sends out these prickles. And if it's not displaying any of those signs, there are also lines in the leaf. Burr Medic grows from a single stem, and then it propagates out, a bit like a hanging fern. Actually, that's probably a good way to describe it, except it grows laterally across the lawn. Control options, there are quite a few. You can pull them by hand. Just be careful of these little nodes on the bottom. You want to try and grab them as well. But yeah, a general broadleaf herbicide is going to knock these about too, and something like Duke as well is also going to knock Burr Medic. Just be mindful that Duke's not able to be used on all lawn varieties, but just find a broadleaf herbicide as well that is safe for your lawn variety, and you'll find that it might depend, again, depending on maturity. A lot of these weed varieties do depend on maturity as well for a full kill or a full control. So a follow-up application may be required. So just make sure you read the label when the next application timing you can apply, because as we discussed with the wintergrass, there is herbicide-resistant warnings on labels these days, which is really good to see. It's designed to try and help people that are spraying to continuously rotate their groupings so that weeds like this don't build resistance to a certain group, because that is important. Burr Medic, that's another one, bites the dust. Now, whilst I clean the lab table here, I just want to touch on PPE. When you are spraying chemicals, of course, it is really important to wear the correct PPE, personal protective equipment. That is all inclusive of the label that you purchase. So, and if it's not, because for whatever reason, if you've gone to the shed and it's faded or it's lost, always look up that product on the internet. There's so many sources available for those products. NSFW, for example, if you do lose the label, you can go to lawnhub.com.au, select the NSFW product, scroll down a little bit, and then highlighted in orange is the NSFW label. You click on that and it downloads the entire label for you to have forever. We don't just do that, all the companies do that. That sell product, and especially those that make it. So it's really important to wear the correct PPE, and make sure you make note of spraying restraints as well. You don't want spray drift into your gardens as well, potentially on food as well. So just be mindful of that, and of course your pets. So And kids, yes, and kids. Make sure you look after the kids because, yeah, I think that's quite important. Don't you think, Dylan? Yeah, I think so. So that's it. Yeah, there is a lot more weeds down there, but they're more so related in the, in the open spaces, the paddocks and all that sort of stuff that's around here at Lawnhub. And I pulled majority of these from the actual lawn. So, yeah, the common weeds found in our lawn during winter. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe. If there's something else you want to see, put it in the comment section below. As always, see you in the next one.